On News Hour tonight, 30 Zamfara communities protest fresh cases of insecurity. Police arrest armed suppliers behind Yelwata massacre in Benue State. Number day calm after communal unrest. On the foreign scene, Mali Army, Wagner accused of rights abuses. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Tjhis TV. I am Muhammad Kudu Abubakar. Residents from about 30 troubled communities in Gusau local government area of Zamfara State have staged a peaceful protest calling on the government to urgently deploy security forces to protect their lives and property. The protest follows a fresh attack on Bunji Hegimai community by armed bandits in the early hours of Wednesday, resulting in multiple fatalities and the displacement of residents. The report.
The resurgence of bandit attacks, abductions and killings across rural communities in Zamfara State has become a source of deep concern, especially during this rainy season when farmers need access to their farmlands for cultivation. But armed groups have blocked that access, demanding levies from residents before they can return to their farms. Fed up with the relentless violence and extortion, residents from over 30 communities took to the street of Gusau chanting in Hausa, "We want to leave. Government, help us with security agents." The protesters lamented the total absence of security personnel in their villages, which has allowed the bandits to operate freely, killing, kidnapping, and imposing illegal taxes. Security operatives deployed to manage the situation blocked the road leading to the government house in an attempt to stop the protesters. However, the crowd forced their way through. In a show of resistance, personnel from the Nigeria Police Force and the Department of State Services did not use force, but instead tried to calm the protesters to avoid escalation. An elderly man estimated to be in his 70s shared a heartbreaking story of how his 3 sons, who were his sole caregivers, were killed by bandits. He now lives in despair, displaced from his home and struggling to survive. The protesters raised alarm over the complete loss of their livelihoods due to the worsening insecurity.
We are paying ransom ranging from 1 to 4 million naira to bandits just to secure the release of our loved ones. Troops have been deployed to other communities, but in ours, there are no security personnel stationed to protect us or our properties. That is why we have come to appeal to government to deploy security agents. Our people are being killed daily. We are asking from the government is simple. Provide us with security so we can return to our farms and resume food production. 3 of my children who used to care for me were killed by bandits. Now I have no one to support me. We urgently need security intervention. We are pleading with the government to come to our aid. Most of us can no longer sleep in our homes because of the worsening insecurity. Just this Wednesday morning, several members of our communities were killed in a fresh attack, and many others were displaced. The situation is terrifying. That's why we have come out in protest, to let the government hear our cry and take immediate action to secure our community.
They vow not to leave the government house premises until authorities respond with tangible solutions to their security concerns, insisting they have no other place to go. Communities affected include Ruambore, Bunji, Pegi, Mahe, and several others.
Still on security operatives have arrested 12 suspected kidnappers and 1 informant in a coordinated operation carried out across parts of Kogi and Kwara states. The Kogi State Commissioner for Information, Kingsley Fanwo Made, made this known in a statement on Wednesday in Lokoja. He also said some of the victims of the kidnapping were rescued. The commissioner said that one Rabi Umakeri, who is believed to be an informant for the gang, was also arrested. The commissioner also announced that the suspects were apprehended during a series of raids jointly executed by the hybrid force from the Office of the National Security Advisor, NSA, and officers and men of the Forward Operating Base, FOB, Egbe. According to him, the operations covered Isanluesa and Okoloke in Yagba West local government area of Kogi State, and Patigi, Lafiagi, and Bubu in Kwara State. He said that the security forces engaged the suspects in a fierce gun battle, during which some of the kidnappers fled, abandoning their motorcycles and the victims they kidnapped. Meanwhile, peace is gradually returning to communities in Waduku and Rigange in Lamur, a local government area of Adamawa State, following recent clashes between the Chobo and Bachama ethnic-speaking groups. In a strong show of commitment to lasting peace, Governor Umaru Fintiri visited the affected areas and engaged directly with residents. Tjhis TV's Gibson Suadigo now reports.
The scars of conflict remain visible as destroyed homes, abandoned commercial centers, and empty food banks dot the landscape of affected communities. The victims' weary faces reflect a shared yearning to return to their farms, rebuild their lives, and live peacefully as neighbors once more.
I'm calling on them to embrace peace, to let go of the pains and accept it as the act of God.
For now, peace and normalcy are gradually returning to Lamur, the local government area, as Governor Ahmed Fintiri traveled over 150 kilometers to the remote communities of Waduku and Rigange, former hotspots of tension between the Chobo and Bachama-speaking communities. The governor met with residents and received briefings from the affected communities. While addressing local leaders and residents, Governor Fintiri called for peaceful coexistence, unity and dialogue as the way forward.
They have no choice than to live together. It is God that has made it and destined that they should live together, and they are going to live together. They've intermarried, and this is not coming from an external aggression. It's coming among neighbors that have lived over 100 years together. So you least imagine that this can happen in between them. What will have pushed them to do this, I think we'll get to the root cause of it and prefer solution. I'm very sure that they have listened to me and they will abide by it. They will ensure that there is peace in this land, because this is the government they trust. This is the government that they voted, and whatever I tell them, they will trust me.
Community members in turn voice their concerns and demands.
So when the government can come into the matter and send enough security and have a dialogue with the both communities, I think the solution will come up.
Security operatives were also commended for their swift intervention and continued efforts in restoring law and order. Gibson Soadgo, Tjhis TV News, Yola.
Troops of Operation Fansanyama have foiled a terrorist attack in Rijau local government area of Niger State. The operation was carried out on Tuesday when troops intercepted a large group of terrorists advancing from Babandoka axis of Zamfara State towards Ragada and Warari communities in Niger State. Joint forces from Mariga and Zuru sectors launched a coordinated assault near Inana village, engaging the insurgents in a fierce gun battle. Troops recovered 2 AK-47 rifles, a loaded magazine, 18 motorcycles, communication devices, and other items from the scene. However, the operation was not without losses, as one soldier was fatally injured during the exchange. Meanwhile, Yobe State Governor Mai Malam Buni has reopened 2 out of the 3 earlier closed communities due to security concerns in the state. This was disclosed on Tuesday after a Security Council meeting to review measures put in place to address security challenges in the state. Governor Buni was represented at the meeting by the Deputy Governor, Idi Barde Gubana. Briefing journalists on the outcome of the meeting, the Special Advisor to the Governor on Security Matters, Brigadier General Dahiru Abdul Salam, retired, said the decision to reopen the markets followed an improvement in the security situation. This follows the strategic engagement with farmers and herders. Abdul Salam said there had been an improved relationship. He added that the government had constituted a task force to redefine the state's cattle routes to allow for cattle breeding and reduce clashes between herders and farmers. He noted that the task force will redefine the cattle routes to allow for a harmonious relationship between farming communities and herders. The Bayelsa State Police Command has arrested the abductors of Justice Ibirin Umukoro of the Bayelsa State High Court. Justice Umukoro was kidnapped in Yenagoa on June the 21st and held for 12 days before being rescued through a coordinated operation by security agencies. Governor Duyedri made the announcement during the State Executive Council meeting in Government House, Yenagoa. He noted that all suspects involved in the abduction had been apprehended, except for the gang leader who remains at large. The governor reiterated his administration's zero tolerance on crime and emphasized ongoing efforts to improve the state's security architecture, including the deployment of surveillance drones and installation of CCTV cameras across the capital. With the growing concern over the rising number of street children and an inadequate social response to child welfare, a media dialogue on child-sensitive budgeting held in Kano has sparked renewed calls for action. At the event, UNICEF and other stakeholders advocate for improved budgetary allocations to child-focused sector, while government representatives noted that although efforts are ongoing, several bottlenecks continue to hinder delivery, hence the need for the involvement of all stakeholders in safeguarding the future of children. Tjhis TV's Abdulaziz Ibrahim has the report.
A 2021 multiple indicator cluster survey estimates that Kano State is home to nearly 6.5 million children. Child mortality and low immunization rate to malnutrition, multidimensional poverty and recurring disease outbreaks are challenges affecting children. Addressing these challenges are deeply tied to how budgets across key ministries such as health, education and women affairs are allocated. While budget allocations to these sectors have steadily increased between 2021 and 2025, the figures, according to UNICEF, still fall short of global benchmarks.
About 35% of children are primarily at the primary and junior secondary schooling age are not attending schools. That is we're talking about nearly 2.3 million children who are out of school. And of course, this threatens Kano State future human capital. So nearly 4.7 million children in the age between 6 to 23 months are not receiving the minimum acceptable diet, leading to more than 3 million children under 5 are stunted. So this affects their capabilities of learning and their intelligence will be affected.
Key challenges militating against implementing budgets in child-sensitive sectors include budget leakages, bureaucratic bottlenecks, and weak accountability structures, all contributing to missed development targets. But lawmakers say there is still hope. The Deputy Speaker of the Kano State House of Assembly, Muhammad Bello, acknowledges these gaps and called for stronger collaboration, effective oversight, and renewed commitment to protect Kano's children, especially with millions still out of school.
The implementation of the law, and so many factors need to be considered in implementing a law. The tradition, the culture, the religion, the societal influence, all these need to be considered. You need to be very careful. What you will do in Enugu is not something that you can do here in Kano. Even here in Zamfara, how you can understand in Zamfara may not be the same way you will handle it in Kano or in Kano. So we need to be very careful. Of course, the government and the people, especially the group of elites, and even all of us, are very much interested in seeing these children not moving on the street.
For the next budgeting process, we are at a very pivotal moment. Very important, very critical time we have this discussion and dialogue, because it's a time for all the MDAs to prepare their budgets and submit their budgets. So this is a timely discussion. We are raising the alarms and calling for every responsible individual in those government ministries, commissions, and MDAs to take actions. The choice that we can make in the next Kano State budget process will reflect our true priorities. So let's don't miss this opportunity. Well, let's make sure that every Naira counts for the Kano's children.
There is hope that with stronger political will, authorities will allocate more resources for child-focused sectors and also ensure better implementation. Abdulaziz Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Kano.
Among several notorious arms dealers who supplied weapons to attackers involved in the mass killings in Yelwata, Benue State, 2 have now been arrested by security forces. The arrests followed coordinated intelligence-led operations conducted by the Force Intelligence Department Intelligence Response Team along the Lafia-Makudi Expressway and in Abinsi Guma local government area of Benue State. One of the suspects, Abubakar Isa, was intercepted with 3 AK-47 rifles and 1,002 rounds of 7.62 millimeter live ammunition. He was allegedly transporting the arms for distribution to bandit groups operating in Benue State. Further investigations led to the arrest of another arms dealer. I'll take that again. Further investigations led to the arrest of another arms dealer. Further investigations led to the arrest of another arms dealer, according to the report. Meanwhile, former Jigawa State Governor Sule Lamido has accused President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration of, in his words, using state institutions to suppress opposition voices and weaken democracy. Speaking to journalists in Kano, former Governor Lamido claimed agencies such as the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, were being deployed to pressure political opponents into submission. He cited recent corruption charges against opposition figures who later defected to the ruling party, alleging selective justice and political manipulation. Alhaji Lamido argued that such actions were damaging Nigeria's democratic foundation and contributing to national instability, insecurity, and public distrust. He expressed concern over the lack of cohesion among emerging political coalitions ahead of the 2027 general elections. Unlike the structured alliance that formed the APC in 2014, he noted that the current efforts lack institutional backing and are mostly driven by individual ambitions. Meanwhile, the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, and Opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, will begin preparations for the 2027 electioneering with crucial National Executive Committee meetings. This Wednesday, the PDP will commence the process that will culminate in its 101st NEC meeting on Friday. The meeting during which the date of its convention will be decided will lead to the election of new national officers. They will take the party through the primaries and the 2027 general elections. Between Wednesday and Friday, the PDP National Working Committee, NWC, and the Board of Trustees, BOT, will meet to resolve outstanding issues before the NEC meeting on Friday. On the part of the APC, its caucus, which usually precedes the NEC meeting, will meet this Wednesday to set the template for Thursday's NEC meeting. Top on the agenda of the NEC will be the ratification of the national chairman to replace the immediate past chairman, Dr. Umaru Abdullahi Ganduje, who resigned voluntarily on June the 27th on health grounds. Former River State Governor and former Minister of Transportation, Chibuike Rotimi Amechi, has declared that the African Democratic Congress, ADC, is on a mission to restore hope and happiness to the people of River State and Nigeria at large. He made the statement while addressing a crowd of supporters at the Port Harcourt International Airport. Details in this report.
Supporters of the ADC and loyalists to the former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, stormed the Port Harcourt International Airport to show that the party is here to stay in River State. The former governor did not hold back while accusing the River State political establishment of electoral malpractice. Amechi issued a stern warning, stating that he would not align with any supporter unwilling to resist rigging attempts in future elections. He also took aim at the current administration, accusing it of neglecting the sufferings of Nigerians.
If the rich men are spending 4 million a month for fuel, for electricity, only God knows how you are surviving. And the president said he doesn't care. He said he's not here to make you happy. ADC is here to make you happy.
The problem we have always had is that we try to weave our support and loyalty around interests when we have not been able to build the structure, the substructure that will carry the load. The presidential candidate will carry the load. For now, we are more concerned about laying a solid foundation for a new beginning.
Necessarily, when you say where Amechi goes, people go. I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of Christ. And I see the example Christ has given. The same way Amechi has shown example of leadership, man management, resource management, influence management, and we believe in his leadership.
You know, people underestimate Rivers people a lot. We are very patient people. So the patience has stalled. And you can still see that the man has a followership. The destruction of River State started in 2013. I was a member of the House then. So the eggs we laid then has hatched. And every Rivers man is now crying, asking for a new thing to happen.
The former governor of River State also walked through major roads in Port Harcourt to the cheers of enthusiastic supporters, reaffirming his influence ahead of the 2027 elections.
4 senators elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, have defected to the All Progressives Congress, APC. They are Anekan Bassi, Ekin Samson, Francis Fadaunsi, and Olubi Fadei. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, read their defection notices during Wednesday's plenary. Senator Bassi and Samson represent Akwa Ibom Northeast and Akwa Ibom South senatorial districts, while Senator Fadaunsi represents Osun East and Senator Fadei represents Osun Central. In their letters, the senators cited irreconcilable differences within the PDP and the need to align their constituents with the mainstream politics at the center as the reasons for their dumping the party, PDP. They were received by Senate Leader Okpeyemi Bamidele, APC National Secretary Ajibola Bashiru, members of the APC National Working Committee, and Senator Chris Ngige. With the current defections, APC senators are now 70, PDP 28, Labour Party 5, NNPP 1, SDP 2, and ABGA 1.
Motion, State of Nigeria, we have another resignation from the People's Democratic Party. With deep hearts, I submit my resignation as a member of the People's Democratic Party, effective immediately. This decision has not been taken lightly, but I feel compelled to do so due to the unresolved internal crisis, various litigations, and cases and lack of leadership at the apex of the People's Democratic Party. These issues have led to widespread disaffection and mistrust among members, making it very challenging for me and for all of us to effectively serve our constituents. The people of my hometown, my senatorial district, and the nation at large cry out for dividends of democracy.
In spite of the ongoing wave of defections that hit the People's Democratic Party PDP in Osun State, members of the State Assembly have reaffirmed their loyalty to the PDP. At a press briefing held on Wednesday, Speaker Adewale Egbedu, along with all PDP lawmakers in the Assembly, dismissed rumors suggesting they had defected to the All Progressives Congress, APC. Hamid Oyegbade has the report.
With the 2026 Osun governorship election and the 2027 presidential poll drawing closer, the political atmosphere in the state is becoming increasingly tense. Amid speculation about Governor Ademola Adeleke's possible defection to the APC, two PDP senators, Francis Fadahunsi and Fadeyi Ajagunla, recently resigned from the party. Also, Busayo Oluwole Oke, a prominent House of Representatives member representing Ijesha North Federal Constituency, has defected to the APC. Despite this development, members of the Osun State House of Assembly have reiterated their commitment to the PDP.
It's obvious that their motive is just to distract this house. We are one united family. The 25 PDP honorable members are fully with our governor. We are strongly committed to the agenda of Mr. Governor. And I want to use this opportunity to tell the general public that we are loyal to the governor and we are loyal to our party, PDP.
Not only Ijesha House of Assembly members, the 25 House of Assembly members, just like the leadership of the House have just said, we are intact. The 9 House of Assembly members from Ijesha are also intact. You can also see them here. Some of us will even speak for themselves. I'm from Obokun State Constituency, that's Obokun the Federal Constituency, and I remain in PDP. I remain committed to the governor.
Not just the fact that we are following him dogmatically, we believe in his 5-point agenda, and the governor has been working assiduously in achieving all that. So that alone is enough for us to rally around the governor and see him through this tenure and also the subsequent one.
In the previous election in 2018, if my memory serves me correctly, we did not have any rep, we did not have all of that, and we still defeated them. And I believe that we are resolute. The governor is a performing governor. The House of Assembly has come to support him, and we are with him 100%. You can, even a blind man can see that the infrastructural drive in Osun State now is turning our state to a new marker.
Meanwhile, following the collapse of Governor Ademola Adeleke's rumored defection plans, both the governor and the PDP leadership in the state have unanimously declared their support for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's re-election bid in 2027. Hamid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Osogbo.
Tuesday's plenary of the House of Representatives passed for first reading a bill seeking to prohibit public and civil servants, including their immediate families, from patronizing private schools and healthcare facilities in Nigeria. The bill, sponsored by Representative Amobi Godwin Oga, who represents Isuakwato Omunneocha Federal Constituency in Abia State, has sparked reactions from policy analysts and members of the public, who have shared diverse opinions on the bill. Tjhis TV's Noel Samson has the report.
Nigerians spend billions of dollars annually on medical and educational tourism. According to Daily Trust publication, at least $29.29 billion was spent on foreign medical treatment during the Buhari administration, while the Punch newspaper reports that Nigerians spent $28.65 billion on foreign education and $11.01 billion on medical treatments abroad between 2010 and 2020. Additionally, over $218.87 million was spent on foreign education in 2023 alone, with $58.7 billion spent on personal travel allowances in the same decade. These staggering figures have prompted some policy analysts to support the proposed bill, arguing that it will help redirect resources to strengthen Nigeria's public institutions.
Restricting or banning public office holders from patronizing private schools, whether secondary school or universities or private hospitals, is a welcome development, because if you look at our public health institutions and of course public education institutions, you find out that they've been on the decline for decades. But I believe that as we are also looking at banning these public officers from using the private institutions, we should also make effort to improve the public institutions.
If they can push through a law like this that requires public servants, political office holders, to use those same educational and health institutions that the rest of Nigerians have been using, and they do not have that freedom to send their children to schools abroad and to just kind of circumvent the very social services that they are providing for the citizens. I think that would be a commendable step.
For many, passing the bill into law is not the problem, but mechanisms that will be put in place to ensure the law is strictly enforced.
But I would be happy to see, the mechanisms they've put in place to check and monitor. And it's beyond just saying that, they should not patronize private institutions, and they should not also travel abroad. It must be clearly stated that they should not travel abroad, and it should start with the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
For example, we have the asset declaration process, which, you have the Code of Conduct, a bureau, where assets of public officials are supposed to be declared. You have a whistleblower policy. You have a lot of such accountability mechanisms that can be used to monitor this. And there are even citizen groups that can work with the government to show the way in terms of how this should be implemented.
Among FCT residents, opinions are divided, as some supported the bill while others expressed skepticism.
I don't think that law will hold water, because their own children are going to private university and private secondary school. And in the first place, they are not the one that will determine. It is not left for civil servants to cut their cloth according to their size.
Yes, of course, it's a good one, because those politicians, they are just taking their children abroad. Maybe we are here schooling, a strike. You will spend almost 8 to 10 years in university without graduating. Then their children are just there 3 years, 2 years. They have graduated, and they will come back to the nation, give them big office.
According to Representative Amobi Godwin Oga, the bill seeks to eliminate conflicts of interest and restore public trust in government-run institutions. By ensuring that public officials and their families rely on public services, the law aims to improve the quality and integrity of public education and healthcare. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, food prices drop in Lagos markets. We have more news when we return. Do stay with Trust TV. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories again. 30 Zamfara communities protest fresh cases of insecurity. Police arrest armed suppliers behind Yelwata massacre in Benue State. Moving on, the organized labor in Katsina State has rejected attempts by the State House of Assembly to tamper or distort the earlier approved contributory pension scheme. The leadership of the organized labor in Katsina, through its secretary, Muntari Abduruma, issued the warning at a press briefing held on Tuesday. The report.
The labor unions threaten to resort to other options that may negatively affect the state administration should the government go ahead to implement the federal government's pension scheme instead of the earlier approved one borrowed from Jigawa State. The immediate past administration of Aminu Bello Masari had already approved the agreed pension scheme between the government and the labor leaders, which was implemented by the Korada administration. The organized labor in Katsina is wondering why the state government want to revert to the federal government pension scheme without its consent, warning that the state civil servant will not take it lightly, promising to mobilize workforce against the move.
The entire labor workforce in Katsina State totally rejects the proposed bill and adopt the current ones that's been used since December last year. That is the one that is similar to that of Jigawa State, the one that's been assented by the previous government. That's the bill we know, and that's the bill we have affirmed today. We must also applaud and appreciate the government for introducing civil service payment scheme, which is a very good scheme that will have the civil servants to even prepare for their retirements, that will help civil servants to have food security so that their salaries will be saved. We must also commend the state government for giving us enough contributions and give us cooperations towards the achievements based in the movement of labor in Katsina State.
Earlier, the labor leaders gave credence to the late former President Muhammadu Buhari for his concern and efforts toward alleviating the suffering of Nigerians despite several challenges faced by his administration from 2015 to 2023. The Katsina organized labor prayed Allah to grant Jannatul Firdausi to the late former president. They also prayed for quick recovery for Governor Dikko Umar Radda, who recently had an accident along Katsina Daura Road, assuring that they will continue to explore legitimate means to stop the government from implementing the new federal government pension scheme.
In a cheering news for the economy, food prices in major markets across Lagos State are dropping. Perishable items that previously sold at high prices are now more affordable due to the rainy season. Similarly, the cost of some staple food items has also declined. However, not all food items are cheap, as grain-based staples like soya beans, crayfish, and stockfish remain expensive. Victoria Tokolo's report is presented from our studio.
In several major markets across Lagos State, including Shango Market, Musalashi Alaja, and Agege Main Market, prices of key food items have seen noticeable declines. Some staple food items have recorded moderate reductions. A bag of onions, which previously sold for 140,000 naira, now goes for 130,000 naira to 135,000 naira. A plain bucket of white gari now sells for 2,000 naira, while yellow gari is priced between 2,500 naira and 2,700 naira, down from 4,000 naira. White and yellow corn as well as Guinea corn and wheat now go for 2,800 naira per plain bucket. Among perishable goods, pepper prices have dropped significantly, with a big basket now costing 60,000 naira. Although tomatoes remain relatively expensive, green vegetables such as pumpkin leaves, ugu, shoko, ewedu, and okra have all become more affordable. Despite this reduction, some staple items are still very costly. Soya beans remain at 5,000 naira per plain bucket, while ofada rice continues to sell for between 11,000 naira and 12,000 naira. Crayfish prices have risen sharply, now selling at 14,000 naira per plain bucket, up from the previous 6,000 naira to 8,000 naira. Stockfish remains the priciest item, with even the smallest pieces now going for 10,000 naira. Traders across various Lagos markets share their views on the changing food prices.
Just like that Egusi have not really go up, neither did it's at the level price. Like Egusi now, paint is 8,085 for paint. That is for engine peel. So hand peel is like 11,000 for paint.
Fish is too costly. The thing wey dey sell for me, I don't still sell am again because that was before how much I dey buy? 30,000, 60,000, but now it's 140. Kote is 75. Every day, now they put money 5,000, 6,000. Now they put every day. Then they put 2,000, 1,000, 5,000, 6,000. Every day, now they put. Mullet is 5,000, is 50,000. So they buy in bunch. Before bunch is too high. They say 35, they say 20, they say 40. But now they are selling 15,000. Sometimes when they no see buyers, they sell 12,000. So it's coming down small. This is the time we are discussing. This basket is 65,000 because we are buying bag 120, 130. The small bag we are buying 75,000. This one, basket of this one, 65,000. This one, basket of this one, you can sell it 50,000 because one of this one's 200. Price of this basket now is 60,000. We bought this one, 60,000. Shumbo bag, small bag is 50,000 per bag. It's coming down small because this one before reach 80, 100. This one. Selling bundle. We say bundle anyone you want buy. We say bundle anyone. But before we say 30, 50, 60. But now, thank God, they only come down small. Now we say 12,000, 50,000, 20,000. No be like before.
Traders in Lagos are hopeful that with the rainy season now in full swing, prices of more food items, especially perishables like vegetables, tomatoes and pepper, will continue to drop.
Wednesday's Senate plenary has paid tribute to the late former President Muhammadu Buhari during its plenary session. This follows the former president's passing on July 13th at a London hospital and his subsequent burial 2 days later. The report.
At the memorial session, lawmakers emphasized Buhari's impactful leadership both as Nigeria's military head of state from 1983 to 1985 and as its democratically elected president from 2015 to 2023.
Our consolation is that our former president led a successful and fulfilled life, both as a gallant and courageous soldier who rose to the peak of his career as a military officer, and also as a successful Democrat who governed this country uninterruptedly.
But one thing that remained clear and in line with the preponderance of opinion of Nigerians is that President Buhari was a man of integrity, a highly principled person who stood by what he believed in.
There are very few Nigerians who had the privilege and the honor and the mercy and grace that God gave to Buhari to lead and serve a great nation like Nigeria, firstly as head of state, quite a young age, and then later elected democratic president twice.
Buhari passed away on July 13, 2025 and was laid to rest last week in Daura, Katsina State, in a ceremony attended by various dignitaries from Nigeria and abroad. Throughout the tribute, Buhari's leadership was commended for its restraint, dignity and steadfast endurance amid the challenges of governance.
Mr. President, today we mourn him as a leader who was not corrupt.
President Buhari, for now, is still the most celebrated president even after death.
As many of us have said,
was a man of integrity. Not only that, he was a very, very humble person. The nation will continue to miss the best president for years to come and for generations to come. And I hope we have done enough, but I don't think we will stop honoring him.
President Bola Tinubu had earlier described late former President Buhari as a leader who governed with composure and dignity.
On Wednesday, similarly held a solemn valedictory session in honor of former President Muhammadu Buhari, who passed away on July 13, 2025, at the London Clinic in the United Kingdom. Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu, who led the tributes, praised Buhari's life of service, integrity, and commitment to Nigeria's unity and democratic advancement. The report.
Following Buhari's death on July 13, 2025, lawmakers suspended both Senate and House proceedings for 7 days to conduct tributes, including a formal valedictory session. The House Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas, led the session, during which members offered heartfelt reflections on Buhari's life and public service, praising his discipline, patriotism, and quiet dignity. Lawmakers described the late leader as a principled statesman who stood firm against corruption and played a pivotal role in shaping national policies during his presidency from 2015 to 2023. Among his legislative legacies, members recall the Not Too Young to Run Act 2018, Petroleum Industry Act and Climate Change Act 2021, Electoral and Anti-Money Laundering Act 2022, and the 2023 constitutional amendments that devolved powers over prisons, railways, and electricity to states. They urged future leaders to emulate Buhari's dedication to national service.
President Buhari's tenure as president from 2015 to 2023 was a period of unprecedented legislative productivity, a demonstration of his willingness to collaborate with the 8th and 9th assemblies. Under his watch, 129 bills were signed into law, an impressive legislative record. These were transformative laws.
In his own words, I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody. This singular statement captures the essence of service to Nigeria.
He also made a foray into the electoral and democratic reforms, where he signed the Electoral Act 2022, which introduced the electronic transmission of results.
President Buhari had his flaws like we all do, but he will continue to be someone we all look up to.
He's a very good man, very honest man. A man of few words. He does not talk too much, no dogon at all. He tells you how he feels, and that's it. He does not make too much statements.
In a significant fiscal decision, the House also approved the $21.8 billion borrowing request by the federal government. The loan package includes $47 million earmarked for the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, $300 million for the Nigerian Universal Communications Access Project, and an additional component of €2.19 billion.
In business, the Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria, Petron, has accused Dangote Petroleum Refinery of plans to exploit Nigerians and monopolize the downstream sector, going by its recent forward integration adoption. The Petron warned further that the plan could pose a significant loss of jobs and threat of job losses to Nigeria. Petron, in a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Joseph Obele, argued that Dangote Refinery, with a production capacity of 650,000 barrels per day, should be competing with global refineries not operating as a distributor in the downstream sector in Nigeria. The marketers explained that Dangote's tactics may include a pricing penetration strategy where they reduce prices to capture market share, with the ultimate goal of forcing other filling stations or operators to quit the market. This is said could lead to a massive shutdown of filling stations across Nigeria, resulting in widespread job losses. On the foreign scene, Human Rights Watch (HRW) has accused Mali's armed forces and the Russian Wagner Group of carrying out serious human rights violations, including the execution and enforced disappearances of Fulani men during joint operations in 2025. The report alleges that at least a dozen Fulani men were executed and 81 others forcibly disappeared between January and July 2025 during counter-insurgency campaigns targeting Islamist militias. HRW noted that Islamist groups often attempt to recruit Fulani men, making the broader Fulani community a frequent target in military operations. The Wagner Group, which has operated in Mali alongside national forces, has been previously implicated in civilian abuses across various conflict zones, though it maintains that no formal affiliation with the Russian government. In response to the allegations, HRW is urging the African Union and international partners to pressure Mali's military junta to launch independent investigations and ensure accountability. The latest accusations come amid broader concerns over governance and human rights in Mali, as the country continues its transition under military rule following multiple coups. Meanwhile, at least 10 more Palestinians have died from starvation in Gaza within the past 24 hours, raising the official death toll from hunger to 111, including more than 80 children, according to Gaza's health ministry. As Israeli bombardment intensifies, humanitarian conditions continue to deteriorate. A total of 109 aid organizations have called for urgent international intervention, warning that mass starvation is rapidly spreading across the besieged territory. The European Union has issued a warning to Israel over the worsening humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, the United States announced that former presidential envoy Steve Witkoff will travel to Europe for ceasefire discussions and to explore options for establishing an aid corridor. Let's now join Joseph Peter for Sports News.
The National Sport Commission (NSC) has announced improved welfare packages, including increased bonuses and allowances to boost the morale and performance of the Nigeria's women national basketball team, the Tigress, as they jet out to Abidjan, Ivory Coast to defend their title at the 2025 FIBA Women's Afrobasket. During a courtesy visit by the team to the NSC leadership in Abuja on Tuesday, Chairman Malam Shehu Dikko and Director General Honorable Bukola Olakpade reaffirmed the nation's unwavering support and confidence in the squad. In the evening of Tuesday, Malam Dikko and Honorable Olakpade were also at the training camp of the team to encourage the players and officials as they fine-tune preparations for the continental showpiece. NSC Director General Honorable Bukola Olakpade praised the resilience and consistency of the Tigress team, charging them to make history once again. Head coach Rena Wakama has unveiled the final roster of 12 players for the tournament, headlined by experienced names such as Captain Amy Okonkwo, Promise Amukamara, Sarah Ugoke, and Ezini Kalu. Also making the roster of the nation's finest 12 are Mujana Musa, Victoria Makule, Elizabeth Balogun, Blessing Ejiofor, Ifunanya Okoro, Vera Ojunua, Nicole Enabosi, and Pala Kunanyi. The Tigress are eyeing a historic 5th consecutive Afro-basketball title, having dominated the last 4 editions. The team's remarkable 4-peat run include 3 final victories over fierce rival Senegal. The 2025 Women Afro-Basket takes place from July 26 to August 3rd in Abidjan, as the Tigress will take on Mozambique and Rwanda in Group D. That's Sport News. I'm Joseph Peter.
Sports News concludes this Wednesday's edition of News Hour on Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all our media platforms and join our YouTube live stream for more news. Thank you for watching. I'm Muhammad Kuda Abubakar. Good night.